Welcome to Chris's Storytelling Corner. This is Christopher Moldong. Today I'm going to do a movie review for Wonder Woman. Be sure to also check out my reading of my short story, The Next Level. Next time I'll have a movie review for a Chinese movie called Beautiful Accident and a manga review for Your Lie in April, volumes 1 to 3. You can check out my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. You can buy my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99. Also, for $2.99, you can buy my short story collection, a collection of 10 short stories in the horror, fantasy, and realistic fiction genres. Check out my Twitter page and author's Facebook page. Links to all these will be provided on the description. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. So, the way that this is going to work is that I'm going to give a recap of Wonder Woman. So, spoiler warning, you know, I'm just going to pretty much spoil the whole movie. So, if you haven't seen it already, there are a couple twists and whatnot. So, if you're planning to watch it, may not be the best idea to listen to the recap. It's on your guys' discretion. And after the recap, I will give my thoughts on the movie, discussing the story itself, characters, some themes, and whatnot. So let's get started and with this movie review for Wonder Woman. So here's the recap. In a present-day Paris, Diana Prince receives a World War I era photograph sent by Wayne Enterprises' Bruce Wayne and recalls her past. She was born and raised on the island of Themyscira, the home of the Amazons. And as a child, she dreamed of becoming an Amazonian warrior. But her mother, Queen Hippolyta, didn't want her to be a warrior. Her mother then told her the story of how her people were enslaved by mankind. Ares was the god of war that corrupted mankind, and he killed all the other gods. His father Zeus left the Amazons a weapon potentially capable of destroying his son if he ever returned. Her mother also tells her that that Diana was sculpted from clay and given life by Zeus. So the thing is, though, Diana totally disobeys her mother and secretly trains with her aunt, uh, Antiope. I can't really pronounce her name. I think it's Antiope, or Antiope. Eventually, Hippolyta discovers her daughter and sister secretly training together, but Hippolyta's sister, but Antiope convinces Hippolyta to allow Diana to keep training. During her adolescence, Diana shows kind of like these godlike powers as well. So, as a young woman, it's more like present day. Well, not present day, but present day to the story that she's telling. Um, Diana rescues a pilot named Steve Trevor after his plane crashes off the coast. The Amazons then fight the German soldiers that were pursuing him, but Antiope dies protecting Diana. Steve Trevor gets interrogated with the lasso of truth, and he reveals that he's a World War I spy for the Allies, and he stole information from a weapons facility run by German General Erich Ludendorff, and whose scientist Dr. Maru, or Dr. Poison, is producing a new, deadlier form of mustard gas. Diana thinks that Ares is the one responsible for this war to end all wars, and then she goes, defies her mother, takes takes a sword. That's the God Killer. Shield, lasso of truth, and a Wonder Woman costume as well. And she leaves Themyscira with Steve in order to find and kill Ares. So in London, Steve delivers Dr. Poison's notes to his superiors. Um, One of them, well, at the Imperial War Cabinet, and D- Sir Patrick Morgan is trying to negotiate an armistice with Germany. Steve believes that Ludendorff will complete and use the gas regardless of this armistice, but Diana believes that Ludendorff is Ares and killing him will end the war. Sir Patrick gives them their blessing, and Steve and Diana travel to the front lines to stop Ludendorff. And Steve um, gets some people from his team, a spy named Samir, marksman named Charlie, and a smuggler named Chief. So they make it to the Western Front in Belgium, but the whole group is in a trench and pretty much stopped by the enemy's trench, or the soldiers in like the opposite trench. So Diana goes into no man's land alone and pretty much, you know, defends bullets and whatnot coming towards her while still moving forward. And seeing this, all of the allies in the trench go and pretty much fight against the Germans, and they end up liberating a village that was under German control. Diana and the team celebrate with the villagers, and during this time, Diana grows closer to Steve. So they learn about this gala that's going to happen at a nearby castle that Ludendorff's going to attend, and Steve infiltrates the party, and then Diana also infiltrates the party with the intent of killing Ludendorff. Steve stops her though, because it's going to jeopardize the whole mission and the armistice thing and whatnot. Um, and then Ludendorff uses the gas to bomb that nearby village that they just saved. Diana is absolutely devastated, especially that Steve interfered, and she even blames him for what happened. She then goes and pursues Ludendorff to a complex where the gas is being loaded into a bomber to attack London. She fights and kills Ludendorff, but his death does not stop the war. Suddenly, big twist here, Sir Patrick appears, and he reveals that he is Ares. He also tells her that he has subtly influenced mankind to destroy themselves, as they have always had the impulse to cause war and violence. So Ares and Diana fight. Ares attempts to convince Diana that humanity does not deserve to be saved, and also reveals that her mother lied about her origins. Diana herself is Zeus's weapon and his youngest and natural born child. Um, this happens as Ares easily destroys the God Killer sword, because Diana herself is the God Killer. Ares then overpowers Diana, and as this is happening, Steve hijacks the bomber containing the gas and sacrifices himself to pretty much incinerate it at a safe distance. Um, Before that, though, Steve goes to Diana and says something to her. So she sees the plane pretty much explode or catch fire and remembers his like final words. And then she goes and pretty much summons all her power to destroy Ares. And that in turn spares all of humanity. Everyone just wants to stop fighting. Back in London, the team celebrates the end of the war, but it's kind of a solemn victory for all of them. Go back to present day. Diana sends an email to Bruce Wayne thanking him for the photograph of her and Steve and pretty much reaffirms her mission to protect all life. So some thoughts. First of all, great movie. Highly recommended. I was reading a couple reviews. One review actually said that this because in the bigger DC extended universe or DCEU, this is starting with like the Man of Steel. This is the best DCEU movie that has come out. You know, Suicide Squad, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice have all had like very noticeable flaws and were highly negatively critiqued. This one though beats them all, but like the concern now is like, can the DCEU live up to this standard? Some think that they cannot. The the Justice League trailer though actually looks pretty good. I think that might actually be a pretty good movie, but time will tell, really. As Gal Gadot as Diana Prince, great job. Just great casting. She kind of looks like her. She's a lot thinner than what we've seen from Wonder Woman from like the comics and whatnot. But otherwise, she has a look. She's beautiful. I mean, just have to say that now. And then, athletically too, she can do like some of the like stunts and whatnot. That she needs to. Obviously, she's gonna like stunt doubles and whatnot. But yeah, she can do that well. I thought she acted the part pretty well. You know, she was very naive about like the world outside of hers and whatnot. Something of even like a loss of innocence in a sense that I felt was quite prevalent as she's walking through pretty much the whole war. She's really naive and thinks like, oh, if I just go Ares, this will happen, or like, oh, we need to save these people. But then, everyone's telling her you can't do that. It's not gonna help. It, there is something of, there is something of a journey here for her that you got to see, and how she, in a sense, it's almost like an adolescent story. It's her like growing up through suffering, trials, and learning, in a sense. If you want to look at it that way, I thought she did a really good job. I thought they nailed it pretty good as far as like the Wonder Woman character and how she is still unfamiliar with the ways of the world and whatnot, and what's acceptable and what's not. Even just how to dress, how she carries herself very differently. So, I thought they hit that spot on. I can't really say that they hit it with the, other DCEU characters. They really were that spot on with a lot of their characters, but Wonder Woman here, they never actually used the name Wonder Woman, if I'm not mistaken. Recalling the movie, yeah, they really hit her spot on, so that was really good. The side characters are really good too. I mean, you know what I really liked about this movie? There weren't that many characters, like important characters. There's Diana Prince, Stephen Trevor, Sir Patrick, who comes near the end, and then like Ludendorff, Doctor Poison. Those are like the main characters, and then they had like Samir, Charlie, and Chief, and all of them. You pretty much care about most of the characters. They didn't have this extensive amount of characters. It was just this particular group. You know, how many did I just name? I don't know, 8, 9, 10, or something like that. It's there's just not that many, so you're really able to get an idea of every character, their motivations, and maybe something even more with these characters as well. As far as the characters go, there's a huge sense of duality. That was a really big theme here too. This whole duality of man. You know, Steve Trevor is a spy. He lies. He cheats. Um, but like at the very end of the movie, he's all you also saw the good side of him. He can love. He can sacrifice. He can do the greater good. He's not always a great person himself, though. But at the end of the day, um, he really believed in doing the greater good and did something of an ultimate sacrifice. Um, I also like the humor. It just kind of fit in with, apparently he's an above average guy. um, and he's interacting with Diana Prince, who just doesn't know the ways of the world. So it really worked. It meshed pretty well, in my opinion. Those two characters. Um, the other characters, like even like someone like Samir or like Charlie, who's like this sniper who can't shoot, because he's afraid and he's just fighting his own battle. You get to see this like once again this duality here. Chief, he doesn't want to fight. He wants to stay neutral, and you got that from the movie. So like when they're in danger, there's one scene where they like run out of bullets. And I thought they were gonna die. Those three, Smear, Charlie, and Chief, and they didn't. But I was like legitimately worried. Oh man, I like these guys. I got to know these characters. Um, so it's good they didn't die. And once again, like they just built on good characters, good stories, a good story, a good journey. Um, the villains, you had Ludendorff, who was your pretty standard fair villain, just kind of evil for the sake of being evil. Dr. Poison was actually a little more sympathetic. She had like a deranged face. Seemingly, I think she had a thing with Ludendorff, but she's also just making this destructive weapon can kill so many people. Um, but as far as villain goes, I actually thought Doctor Poison was just one of the more interesting characters out there. She was I can't really explain it, but just I guess just kind of sympathetic almost in a sense, even though she's doing such a bad thing. Obviously, there's Sir Patrick, who's Ares, and it's interesting with him because like he pretty much just said it like, hey, look, I give him the temptation, but I don't actually create the war. Mankind does that. He'll give these characters ideas and whatnot, but it's almost like a free will thing. Like they're doing this, not me. Um, Obviously, by the very end, he becomes this like armored being full of like hate, rage, and whatnot that fights against Diana Prince and loses. Ultimately loses. But it was quite a surprise that Sir Pat, throughout the whole movie, it was just kind of this joke almost that she's hunting Ares down, and it's like she thinks it's Ludendorff, and you know, for me at least, like I was convinced that there just was no Ares, um, but it turned out that there indeed was an Ares, and there's Sir Patrick, who actually presented himself to be quite the good guy. You know, he wants to make the armistice. He helped them out, even gave them money and whatnot. And now, the duality thing. But he's actually the bad guy. Um, the guy you least expect to stab you in the back is the guy that's gonna stab you in the back. Um, One thing that's really interesting though, as far as like Ares goes and the death of Stephen Trevor goes, also is where do they go from here? As far as making more like maybe another Wonder Woman movie. Um, I mean, they can definitely. There's enough source material and enough like villains in the DC universe, obviously, for like Wonder Woman to go up against. Uh, but we got this journey of like how she came to be and whatnot. Um, it seemed like she was missing though for a long time, so maybe they'll delve into that. As far as a sequel goes, I yeah, I really don't know. As far as like this story doesn't have any bigger implication per se to the bigger Justice League arc. It just really is a standalone story about Diana Prince going away from her home and seeing like the world and whatnot. But and it takes place in the past, or back in the early 1900s. So like it's not gonna have unless I probably missed a couple Easter eggs here and there, but like I can't really see it having. I didn't see the bigger thing that ties this particular story to the Justice League. It just seemed more of like the story of Diana Prince um, as a standalone thing. But it'll be interesting to see how Justice League's gonna go. How I would imagine, because this movie's pretty popular, it's expected to make a lot of money, that they're probably gonna make a second Wonder Woman. If it's anything like this movie, it's I'd watch it. The action was good, story was good. There's some good themes. I cared about the characters. Um, Coming in, I just wanted something solid. Nothing too outlandish, nothing where they're trying too hard. It had some humor, it just had a little bit of everything. Um, some people are comparing it to like a Marvel movie in that sense, where it's just kind of like, okay, it had that humor, it it just had that stuff. It one thing about Marvel movies is that like the characters and the creators, the writers, the directors, whatnot, seem to understand the world that of which the characters live in, and almost the absurdities of that world and what they're doing. Whether it's like, oh hey, here's a guy that can turn really small. Let's see how absurd things can become because of that. Or here's a dude with a bow and arrow fighting a bunch of robots. For example. In this case, here's this Amazonian princess going into the real world who's never seen the real world before, and they understand the absurdity of it all. She's, and she carries this like sword around and this shield around and whatnot. Um, and it seemed like they really understood the world she lives in, and once again, the absurdities of that world as well. So yeah, that's all for today. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. Thank you for listening to this movie review. Next time, I will have a movie review for Beautiful Accident and a manga review for Your Lie in April, volumes 1 to 3. Thank you, and until next time.